a free solution.
Welcome, everyone, to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. We're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. That means that you, the listeners, can give us a call. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Appreciate you being here today. Thanks, my friends who are listening online, too. Make sure you leave your comments there as well. Comments, questions, whatever you have. Happy to hear them today. I'm sure that this is going to generate some interest. This isn't that my topic for the day is going to be the Fauci emails, right? So I didn't have a hot take last week, and for those of you who haven't seen this yet, and I'm sure many of you have, Dr. Fauci, a lot of his emails through a FOIA request, they ended up in the hands of places like BuzzFeed and Washington Post, and all these emails are now made public. So you can see a bunch of the communications that Dr. Fauci had with other health officials, government officials, and just private individuals in the kind of lead up to the pandemic, and it's brought a whole bunch of some interesting hot takes, right? Like everyone wants to be the first to comment on this. A bunch of folks are like, "Oh, this is smoking gun," and then you got folks like CNN who are like, "Oh, this just proves how great Dr. Fauci is. He's the best." And guys, I got to be honest. And then this email dump, and I've been reading through a whole bunch of them the last few days. Like it doesn't. It's kind of neither, right? Like it's not that it's boring. I'd say, a couple things that conservatives are overreacting about. There's a couple things where progressives are being way too nice about it. And then there's a few things that I have some questions on that I'm wondering what the heck is actually happening here. Why was Dr. Fauci acting in this particular way? And so let's kind of go with like some of the overreaction stuff, right? So these emails, a lot of them that got sent out, like you just see like the sent version to Dr. Fauci, right? And it'll just be like someone will send this nice long paragraph or several paragraphs, and maybe Dr. Fauci says, "Well, thank you, appreciate it," and that's it. Or maybe he forwards it on to someone else, and that's it. And so we saw a bunch of these emails that people have kind of pointed to as like a smoking gun type of situation, and they're from sometimes like just random people, right? Like it doesn't even have anything to do with like major health organizations, not doctors. People who are just sending stuff or just like, I can prove that this was in the U.S. beforehand, or I can prove that China made this. Like there's one that I saw going around, like Michael Betts. Like he's not. I don't think anyway that he's a legitimate like doctor in any sense. I know he is, but all Dr. Fauci said was, "Thank you for your note." That's it. He's talking about why this was there beforehand, why we should only be protecting old people, whatever. Like this isn't the smoking gun. This is like that guy, Dr. Fauci got thousands of emails, whole bunch of emails. It's surprising that he responded to as many as he did. Not every random person is going to warrant a major investigation or shift in policy. Just because someone said something to Dr. Fauci doesn't mean that proves that he understood that or planned on acting on it or has deceived the public in some way, right? So there's a whole bunch of these emails where I'm like, "Oh, look, this is what this is." There's another one where someone copied and pasted like a paragraph from a 2005 paper that was about a different type of viral research and said, "This is how this virus is made." And everyone's like, "Oh, see, this proves that like this was engineered or whatever." Like, no, that doesn't really prove anything. All it proves is some rando email Dr. Fauci. So like, I know this isn't always popular opinion, but maybe wait just a second on the hot takes. Maybe wait a tiny bit. Let's see if we can get some context with some of this stuff. Because again, just because someone has a paragraph sending something to Dr. Fauci, that's something that you are interested in, that you think is, proof of what you've believed all along, it doesn't mean that proves Dr. Fauci has done anything nefarious or whatever. It doesn't prove any of that stuff. The stuff that we have to look for is A, don't look for the stuff that other people sent. There's a couple things that are worth looking at, but most of the time it's like, okay, it doesn't matter. Or who knows how seriously he was actually looking at this stuff. Look at what Dr. Fauci actually said. Like, look what he wrote back, or who he forwarded it to, or what he said about stuff. So that's the type of thing that I'm interested in, right? It's not, did someone send something to him and he knew about this ahead of time? It doesn't really matter, right? What did Dr. Fauci write, and what did he do with that email afterwards, right? Like, and it wasn't like important enough to warrant this. And what I talked about, oh goodness, it was a Friday, not last Friday, but Friday a week ago. We talked about the politicization of coronavirus response in China, and how bureaucracies and political intrigue and political calculations can create really bad incentives for political actors, which, let's be clear, Dr. Fauci is also a political actor. It creates really bad incentives for them to not want to acknowledge mistakes that had been done in the past related to research, to carelessness. No one wants to be the the guy or girl where the buck stops there, right? That's Truman's famous phrase, right? Like, the buck stops here. No one really wants to be that person. No one really wants to be the person taking the blame for something going wrong, particularly if it's incompetence related to a national global pandemic that's resulted in the deaths of now, I think, millions of people, and grinding the economy to a halt. And again, the government played a role in doing that too, in a direct lockdown sense, but also, like, just having a virus around also does slow down the economy. People get freaked out, people get nervous. It's going to slow down the economy. And so as we're starting to pull the thread on to unravel this Wuhan lab leak theory, this is what I'm looking for in these emails. Was there anything there that had to do with that? That's what I'm interested in. There's a bunch of other stuff. There's a bunch of fluff people are getting excited about. Let me spend like 2 minutes on that. You got CNN and a few of these other like progressive news outlets who are doing these gushing stories about Dr. Fauci. Oh, what a hardworking man. He responded to these emails, from health officials across the country, answered their questions directly, or at least someone did, right? Someone using his email did, right? So, okay, yeah, that's nice. Calm down, guys. Like, I mean, this like weird hero worship thing, like, that's so partisan. I don't get. I don't get the other side too. I don't think that Dr. Fauci's the devil. I think he is another government bureaucrat. I don't worship him. I don't hate him. I don't think that. My goodness, you clowns out there saying like he needs to get sent to Gitmo. God, get real, guys. Like, should he not be in his position anymore? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know that there's anything like grand conspiracy level nefarious about what he's done. It is normal government bureaucracy, incompetence, political intrigue type of stuff. I don't know that there's a grand thing. Maybe there is. There's a few things that I think are worth digging through. A few things here, but I don't think that's the grand conspiracy that you're looking for. I don't think that we are going to get that huge scandal out of this. And I don't think that the email thing is a huge scandal quite yet. It's not the scandal we've all made it out to be. There's a few things in there that are worth it. And it's important that you stay focused. When you start to realize like, oh, this isn't like the thing that's going to break the lockdown paradigm, the COVID paradigm, like, that you give up, right? There's stuff in here that's worth talking about. There's nice, sort of boring governance stuff that needs to happen, where we can get better, where we can figure out how this virus may have gotten out, how the US government may have contributed to it, how the desire to not get blamed for something may have slowed down, covered up, and misled people in the public. That type of stuff we need to ask hard questions about. All right, so when we come back, I want to start talking about. I'll talk about the mask email. Everyone brings up the mask email, and then I want to talk about the Wuhan stuff. That's the stuff that I think is worth digging into a bit more. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Again, we're live today, so give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000, or leave your comments online. If it's good, maybe I'll read it out loud. All right, thanks again for joining us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. So give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And leave your comments online too. We're live on A Free Solution on Facebook, A Free Solution on YouTube, and the Kevin Wilson Libertarian page, or the Twitter as well. Follow me at Kevin Wilson ROC. And shout out down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark and WENI, the Patriot, down in the Southern Tier. Appreciate y'all listening here as well. And again, today we're talking about the Fauci emails. We're talking about, what's the stuff out there that's a bunch of nonsense? How do we sort through the noise of like what's the real controversy? Because it's funny, whenever like one of these like government data dumps happen, it is a pain to like sort through all the data, right? Like you've either got to like take the time to read a bunch of these like emails, and then again there's thousands of them. Like are you personally going to take the time to do that? Yeah, most people probably ain't. You ain't got time for that. You got to take care of your family, do your job, do all the other stuff. You ain't gonna spend time on politics all day. And so I've done a bit of that, as I haven't read every single email. I've read a whole bunch of them, and I want to talk about like the narrative that we're building around this, what these mean, if anything, and how this once again gets caught up in that partisan nonsense, and how we can do a little bit better at interpreting this and figuring out like where's the real stuff going wrong. All right, and so related to that, let's talk about the mask email. Everyone uses the mask email, and they're like, see, look what it is. And I'm just going to read the whole thing verbatim. This is an actual email from Dr. Fauci to a person named Sylvia. says, Sylvia, masks are really for infected people to prevent them from spreading infection to people who are not infected, rather than protecting uninfected people from acquiring infection. The typical mask you buy in a drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. It might, however, provide some slight benefit in keeping out gross droplets if someone coughs or sneezes on you. I do not recommend that you wear a mask, particularly since you're going to a very low risk location. Your instincts are correct. Money is best spent on medical countermeasures such as diagnostics and vaccines. Safe travels. Best regards, Tony. So this was sent February 5th, 2020. Someone asking about, I think, like travel and whatnot. So this was pretty early on in pandemic. Things ended up switching a bit. So look, I think he's kind of right in this one. Like, I think that this is the mask advice that made sense. That would have made sense for everyone to take into account at the beginning of the pandemic. If you're going to be in an area where you know COVID-19 is going to be, like, wear like an actual like N95 mask. And he talks about that in other emails. So wear an actual N95 mask if you're going to do that. You know, do a real mask and not, you know, like a surgical mask. Because the thing with the surgical mask and thing that, you know, people have been saying for a while now, again, apparently Dr. Fauci was saying this back in February, is they don't provide all that much protection for the user. Yeah, you know, like stuff can get through a bit easier, especially if you're wearing a cloth mask. But even like, you know, the store-bought surgical mask, they're not perfect, but they do prevent people from spreading infection. You know, I've talked about this on this show before. I'm not totally against masking. I don't like mask mandates, but I think that they make sense in certain contexts. They prevent you from getting your spittle all over, right? And getting some of your aerosol all over too. We know a bit more now too. We know how it spreads. We know confined spaces aren't great. You get people outdoors, you get some airflow in there. That's pretty good. You can go about your normal life. And like, so like this type of advice makes sense, but it's weird because it got so politicized at this moment, because at this moment, remember what was happening. It's funny because I've heard progressives say about this email, specifically about the masking email, like, oh, this proves that the noble lie thing was never true. Well, he said in other contexts that he was worried that Americans would have a run on N95 masks, the masks that provide the most protection, well, not the most protection, but provide pretty good protection for the user themselves, right? So not for other people, but for you, protecting you from other people getting you sick. And he was worried that there'd be a run on those types of masks, the medical grade N95 masks, and that hospital systems would have to do without those. And so they had told him no lie, like, basically like, well, you don't need to wear a mask, you know, it's not important. And then you had the lefties, like the Nancy Pelosi's and the Bill de Blasio's, who were like, no, it's racist to be worried about COVID-19. Like, go out and celebrate New Year, do your thing, it's gonna be great. No, oh my goodness. These guys, again, you can't take these government folks seriously a lot. And I said, my philosophy on all this stuff is people in government are neither heroes nor villains. They're just everyday people with the same level of incompetence as any of the rest of us. Like they're no different than us, both in good ways and in bad ways. Some people trying to do the right thing, some people trying to do, you know, just go along to get along, and some people trying to do bad stuff. And that's my exact philosophy as to why we shouldn't give these folks power, because they ain't any different than us. They ain't any more special than us, so they shouldn't get power over us. There's my philosophy in a nutshell, if y'all haven't heard it enough. But again, with this mask stuff, two things about it. One, I don't have any issue with this. I feel like this is relatively consistent messaging. I think like they got a bit off when they're like, oh yeah, now double mask and do all this stuff. Some of that is like they've learned other stuff. In this type of situation, the danger with government mandates is that we learn new information all the time. So it's dangerous to lock in any single thing, a government mandate for masking, lockdowns, preventing people from going to parks, for goodness sakes. Like, all that stuff is dangerous when it comes from the top down level, in part because it doesn't allow us the opportunity to figure out what works effectively, to evaluate our own risk, and to take action accordingly. We can look at the new data as it comes out, evaluate it, and say, okay, maybe masks made sense in certain contexts way back when, but now maybe it doesn't. Maybe they don't make sense for children like we're doing in New York State schools now, where it's 90 degrees out and New York State said, well, you don't need masks, and now you do need masks. And then maybe they're going to go back again. Who knows? We'll see what they do. But, like, why are we making kids wear masks in sometimes unconditioned school buildings when kids are pretty low infection risk? We know that now, but we're so caught up in the politics of this that we can't make good new decisions, and people don't want to be embarrassed. And again, both sides, both the pro-mask, anti-mask, Democrat, Republican, both sides, they don't want to look like they're being inconsistent. And I think it is a virtue to change your mind on stuff sometimes, right? It is a virtue to say, I have new data, I've changed my mind, we're going to do something else now. But in politics, you don't want to look like you look like you're a hypocrite if you do that. All right, so I'm gonna read a comment from Tim O'Connor because I'm just checking those now. And Tim O'Connor said, Fauci's the only doctor everyone got to keep. He's a multi-decade bureaucrat, not a real doctor. No, he is. He totally is a real doctor. Like he has a certain level of expertise. But Tim, you ain't wrong. I get you're making an Obamacare joke, right? But he is a decade-long bureaucrat. He is knowledgeable about healthcare for sure, but he's a public health official. And again, when you get in that position long enough, you start to, I worry with Fauci specifically, you start to calculate the politics of your actions rather than the science of your actions. And what we saw in regard to masking and whether or not it was PC to talk about the virus coming out of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, like whether or not that was okay, that ended up factoring far too much into people's ability to seek the truth. And I don't think Dr. Fauci is immune from that. Again, he's human. We're all human. I have my own biases too. And I know listeners on the show, I hate to break it to you, you also have your own biases. You got to re-examine those, try to figure out what the truth is. Are you loyal to your tribe to a fault where you can't see the truth? And Tim just following up, yes, it's an Obamacare joke, highlighting the fact that he does not have a ton of experience being a real scientist. I mean, he's doing real science. Well, again, he knows the stuff, but he's not in the trenches, right? He is the guy managing the bureaucracy. And Tim, I think that's a fair criticism of the guy. Like when you get someone in that position for so long, are they still able to do that effectively? Does the experience lead to better administration here, or does it lead to over factoring in politics in these situations? And that's why we're about the, it sounds conspiratorial but the deep state, the entrenched bureaucrats who stay administration after administration, decade after decade. Is it valuable to have people in these high positions for so long because they don't care about politics? That's the selling point, right? They don't care who's in charge. They're going to say it how it is. But let's not kid ourselves. Of course, they're going to consider politics and all this. They always do. They have to. It's their living. That's what they have to do. And again, that's why I don't want these people to have power over me. Again, thanks, Tim O'Connor, for your comments. We are just a reminder for listening to the show, Tim O'Connor is going to be a more regular presence on this program too. If you like him, make sure you tune in on Thursday, noon to 1 here on WYSL or afterwards in the rebroadcast on WACK and WENI. He's going to be here on Thursday joining us and giving his own perspective, right? Because he comes at things from a new angle than me or Larry Sharp. So we're happy to add some diversity to shows as Larry gets a little bit more busy with a few things coming up for him. All right, so thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. When we come back, I'm going to dig more into the stuff that I'm actually worried about, the stuff about the Fauci emails that makes me think, yeah, this guy is a political actor, and here are some things that we're worried about. Here are some things, even if he has good intentions, we need to ask a few more questions about. Thanks so much for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in a few minutes.
Now it's Dan Bongino, weekday afternoons.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for today. We'll be looking at hazy, hot, and humid weather. Temperatures will be up into the 80s, some towns low 90s. Now this afternoon, there will be a chance for a few pop-up thundery downpours that could contain some local heavy rains. We've got to keep an eye to the sky for that this afternoon. Tonight staying muggy, down near 70 on Tuesday. Showers and storms likely in the 80s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Do you, like many business owners, feel your business is your other child? You started it, worried when things weren't well, watched it grow, proud of its successes, and now the business is running well. So you start to think, how am I going to transfer this business and make sure I get the most value for it? Who am I going to sell it to? Family, key employees, favorite competitors? What's my business worth? What kind of payment terms am I going to get? What are the tax implications and business agreements I need? What's going to be the impact for me and my family? I'm Alan Ginsberg of the A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group. We work with many business owners regarding business continuation plans. We'll be glad to sit down and discuss your situation and look at the options that you may have available. Call my office at 585-377-4720. If you start to think about it, don't wait till the last minute.
Securities offered through Securities America, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors, Inc., A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group, and Securities America Companies are separate entities.
For the senior in your family, consider Alpine Manor, founded in 1971 by owner Tim Kinsella, nestled in the picturesque rolling hills east of 390 in Livingston County, just 20 minutes from Rochester. At Alpine Manor, their pride is personalized care for seniors who are not yet ready for a nursing home. If your senior shows symptoms of confusion, forgetfulness, or memory loss, Alpine Manor could provide an excellent option. There are supervised activities and medications, full laundry and housekeeping services, 3 dietary-approved home-cooked meals, and a bedtime snack, all provided in immaculate surroundings. Now, visitors are always welcome at Alpine Manor with an appointment. All staff and residents have received both doses of COVID vaccine. Be confident that your loved one is safe and secure, and you'll be able to visit and connect. Keep the golden years carefree years at Alpine Manor, New York State Health Department licensed. Call 346-5880. That's 346-5880 for a no-obligation tour or information, or visit alpinemanor.com.
I'll try the blue, it's royal when it's true. It's sexy in the stretch with the saturated hue. Perhaps the red that's bright with or without the light. Tight in the knit, cling to the hip like you're wearing just lipstick. But Pout Pink is pretty pucker perfect in the 2-piece polka dot number. It's got matching socks in the box and it's double super cute in your birthday suit. But back to the rack, cause here comes the black. Bump the hump out of the Wednesday, making you feel like Friday night, date night. Suddenly it's Saturday, but pull on a pop of purple at a 4 or 5 inch pump, and that body is socking and that body stocking, but in white fringe, shimmy the shimmy, but whatever shape or shade, as long as it's elegant moments, lingerie, available at Show World.
Health insurance isn't something you typically think about all that often, but this year has been anything but typical. So at a time when great coverage seems more important than ever, Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield brings you the confidence of a card that gets you into the doctors you trust and affordable plans that help you save on premiums and copays. So connect with us today and get coverage, strength, and support that's always there, no matter how life changes. Visit excellusbcbs.com to get started. a nonprofit independent licensee of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association.
Operation Thanks from Above at the Geneseo Air Show, July 10th and 11th. Bring your family and friends to the new drive-in theater format. Experience the sights, sound, and thrills of warbirds, aerobatics, and the F-22 Raptor demo. Info and tickets online at GeneseoAirshow.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. So that means that you listeners can give us a call if you have thoughts on the Fauci emails. You think I'm heading in the right direction? Stuff that I'm missing? One of the emails I have not called out yet. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. You can also leave your comments online too. I am live on the Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution, the YouTube channel, and the Kevin Wilson page too, and on Twitter. Shout out down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in New York and WENY, the Patriot down in Southern Tier as well. Appreciate y'all being here as well. And also leave a comment. Folks listening online now, some of you are listening online too. I got a new format. Let me know what you think of that, how it's working. Don't mind the look today. I'm back at my office instead of in my cool setup in my attic with I got my Don't Tread on Anyone flag behind me. For those of you listening on the radio, you can't see that. I got a big porcupine Don't Tread on Anyone flag behind me, and then a bunch of books and whatnot. No, I'm stuck in a little closet in the office today. So it is how it is. So anyhow, we're talking about the Fauci emails, and what stuff out of there is kind of worth looking into a bit more. And again, for my friends listening online, I just shared a Vanity Fair article that I think is absolutely worth looking into, because as I mentioned on not last Friday's show, but the Friday before show, I think that there's a lot of political incentive for bureaucrats, low-level elected officials, for those types of folks to want to not catch the blame for a catastrophe happening. Like, you think of that, like the Chernobyl situation, where all the way down from like the plant managers and the local governments and local committees in Ukraine to the Soviet Union itself didn't want to tell anyone about that disaster because, it would be an embarrassment for the country. I think that the Chinese government may have done the same thing if there was even a possibility that COVID-19 came out of a lab out of China. And I think the U.S. government, unfortunately, although less so than some of these authoritarian regimes, I think the U.S. government is also subject to some of those same political pressures, that when they see something wrong, when they see that they themselves or their departments or their party or whoever, whatever their position is, contributed to a crisis, to a disaster, to whatever, when they were wrong, there's a lot of incentive, unfortunately, to not speak the truth about that, because it could cost you your career, cost you your reputation. And we see this in a couple of different ways with the Dr. Fauci stuff, right? So we see this. We talked about it last time. We see this, the mask stuff, right? I think that there's now a lot of it is all about virtue signaling for your side. The masks, where it's totally disconnected from any scientific debate. It's all about, what does my tribe say and how do I prove that I'm a part of my tribe? And I think that, again, Dr. Fauci may have fallen into that a little bit. He also had the noble lie thing in the beginning. And then the Wuhan lab leak theory. So again, and check out, again, I posted a link. Check out the Vanity Fair thing, because I'm going to be pulling some stuff from that. There looks like there's some bit of evidence that the U.S. government knew that we had participated in gain of function research that could have maybe been funded by us and then done the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Maybe. Again, it's still too early, and we may never know, right? Like, so I'll caveat this whole conversation and say virus still could have come from like just a bat living out in a cave somewhere. Could have just been a thing. Again, listen to my whole last Friday show on this thing. It could have been a natural evolution. We just haven't found evidence that it is yet. could have been from a lab. We don't have the evidence of that, in part because Chinese government and their collaborators at the World Health Organization have refused to do an actual thorough investigation. And Dr. Fauci, to his credit, is starting to say, oh, yes, we should actually do that now. And so is Joe Biden. Good for them. Better late than never. Glad the politics have switched to actually figuring out the truth. Actually, I even want to say better late than never, because it kills me, because it mattered before. It mattered before, and people are only getting on now that it's no longer un-PC to do it. It's no longer you're not making the woke crowd mad anymore. Well, you're still making some of them mad, which is wild to me that you'd consider it more racist to push a theory that it leaked from a lab that had an accident than that it came from a wet market in China. But whatever, that's just me. So anyway, so let's talk about like the actual emails and then some of the internal stuff going on in the bureaucracy. So putting this in context, there at one point in time in the US, there was some research that was done prior to 2014 on gain of function, right? What that is, again, this is my layman's understanding of it. What that is basically, are you able to modify viruses in a way that makes them more receptive, more able to infect humans? And they'll take like what they call like hybridized like mice, or they've done it with like ferrets before too, where they have certain cell receptors that are similar to humans, and they see if they can infect those cells. If you are into that sort of thing, if you are a proponent of this, you say, okay, that gain of function research that allows us to know how the next virus might get us, and how we can build a preventative vaccine against that, right? If you are an opponent of this type of research, then you would say that is way too dangerous to do. We are creating these monstrous viruses in labs. It's so dangerous. If that accidentally gets out, it could kill millions of people. And that's exactly what might have happened here. They might have been doing that sort of research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and they might have done it. So some of the stuff that's like interesting to look at, right? So was the U.S. government funding this? Well, they were doing research on gain of function, but it was supposed to only be in the U.S., right? So there's one out in North Carolina and one down in Texas. They were doing some research in some labs down there, but they had stopped in theory doing this stuff a few years ago. They said no, this is too dangerous to do. The U.S. government was also, they had given National Institutes of Health, so Fauci's organization, funneled $3.4 million to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, on paper, there's a good reason for this, right? SARS, the original SARS-1, came from bats. The idea is, well, we need to do some research to see, like, and have people on the ground saying, is the next virus going to be coming from a bat in this region? How do we monitor the viruses that are coming out of bats in that region? And how do we monitor ones that are jumping from bats to humans? And that's exactly what they're doing there. They're collecting bat viruses, and including ones that had infected these miners back in 2012. And they got sick with something that looks very much like COVID-19. We'd sent them $3.4 million. Fauci had said it's like $600,000. I mean, this guy knew what it was, right? And that's where the concern is. He had sent emails, but people had sent him emails saying, like, hey, are we doing this gain of function research over there? We have some concerns about this. Were we participating in any of this ugly stuff? And he would say stuff like in response to that, in response to the gain of function research emails, he would say, Hugh, it's essential that we speak this AM. Keep your cell phone on. I have a conference call at 7:45, blah, blah, blah. Basically, read this paper as well as the email. I'll follow up with you. You have tasks that must be done. Okay. So he knew about this stuff. It's not just some rando emailing him. This is him acknowledging, I have read about SARS gain of function research that might have been going on overseas. He has been paying attention to the possibility that this have come from a lab. And the big problem comes from when he gets on TV not too long later and he says, well, the scientists have assured me that this came from natural origins. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. Why would he say that? He knows he could have put on a scientist hat. Imagine that. He knows that it was not conclusive at that point. He said it was conclusive, but it was not conclusive at that point. So why would Dr. Fauci say that? Why would he say it definitely came from nature when he had to have known, and we see the emails of it, that wasn't for certain yet? And there was still a possibility that this came from a lab leak. All right, thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, He is my refuge and my fortress, for He will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here live on WYSL, which means that you, the listeners, can call in, participate in the discussion if you want. 585-346-3000. And in fact, we had one call in. Gary from Hilton. Sounds like he is
Kevin.
on the line. Hey, Gary. What's on your mind,
Kevin.
sir?
How are you?
Fantastic.
Hey, I wanted to just have you put into context a little bit the emails from Fauci with the response of China. You know, like if this thing really came from a bat right to a human being and they didn't know anything about it, once they uncovered and they saw all these people dropping dead around Wuhan, instead of locking down China and turning all the flights loose to the rest of the world and spreading it around, they could have come right out and said, hey, discovered this terrible disease that seems to be going wild through the population and killing a lot of people, and everybody's got to stop flying here. The reaction initially was completely opposite of that. Like you mentioned, we had, Chuck Schumer out there and Nancy Pelosi, oh, come on down to Chinatown, come on for the celebration, let's party. And if you look at step by step everything that went on at that time, it's hard to conclude that it wasn't either released on purpose or used after it was released to create a worldwide problem. Because they could have stopped it. If they could have stopped it immediately. And they lied about it. The World Health Organization covered things up. Fauci was saying one thing in public and emails to personal people differently. Take all that together in context before you draw your conclusions about it was just a dumb accident.
Yeah, no, I think that's all worth considering, Gary. And when I look at this again, I don't see. I don't know that it was released on purpose. I think it's all
well, I
politics,
don't either.
right? Like,
but
yeah,
but
it's worth asking.
Well, who benefited? Right. Who benefited from it being released after it was? So you can't rule out the fact that, I mean, let's face it, they were doing gain of function research. We know that. They've admitted it. They had it on one of the emails. That was the heading on the thing. So if that lab, which I've heard is controlled by the military over there, don't be naive and think that the Chinese military wouldn't do research on a biological weapon to take control of everybody, because that's their goal. They've come right out and said it. They want to run the world, and they want to have it done by the way the Chinese do it, not the way we've done it, which is free enterprise and personal responsibility. So they're trying to wipe that out here because that's the last impediment to them having their one world view of, an economy controlled from the top down. And they can't do that with a strong middle class in this country and a strong entrepreneurial class. So just take all that into, it's a lot to digest, but think about all those factors. It's nothing in isolation. His emails are not in an isolated event.
Yeah, and Gary, I think that's a great point. It isn't in isolation. There's other stuff going on, and I hope I hope I haven't given any mistake to say that like the Chinese government isn't wildly at fault no matter what happened here. Like the way they reacted initially is they said, no, it's not spreading from person to person. It's nothing to worry about. And they told their own people in Wuhan, like, oh yeah, go ahead and celebrate Chinese New Year, go travel, go do your thing. And I don't think it benefits them to have it released in such a way, though. I think it hurts them politically with the countries that they're trying to build alliances in Africa and other parts of Asia.
They don't.
You don't
care,
think they care?
Kevin. They're buying. No, they don't care at all. They've already infiltrated this country into. They've put Confucius Institutes in a lot of major universities, so they have influence. Their money buys a lot of influence in this country. The news media, a lot of the top people in the mainstream media have taken trips and vacations and gotten gifts from the Chinese government. It's a big
I'm sure you saw the John Cena thing, right? Like where he's like apologizing to China for saying that Taiwan was a country. I'm like, wow, that's so gross, guys. Like, why are you doing that? Like, what's the? I don't know, like that type of stuff. Like, and I do worry about that. I do worry about the culture in which we, are unable to criticize the Chinese government, that like Hollywood and political actors, like where they present it as racist, to criticize the Chinese government as if like they represented all Chinese people. Like, no, a lot of them don't like their government either. It's ridiculous. And we should criticize them, particularly when
the Chinese people are under the control of the government, and they've done it in the past the same way they're trying to do it here. We're going to cancel people. We're going to make us miserable. We're going to cost you your job if you speak out. Look at what's going on. They're on the march. They think they've got the perfect opportunity, and it's the hierarchy, the deep state in this country, the saboteurs in the government. There's, I know this sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory, but just look at everything that's happening. How can the Chinese get away with concentration camps and slave labor this day and age when we got people screaming about we're going back to the Jim Crow era because we want to have some voter ID.
Yeah. No,
The
it's
same
disgusting.
people
And there's
are screaming about that.
Yeah. Okay, I'd say there is a culture doing that. Like we can criticize the U.S. government, which is fine. I criticize the U.S. government all the time. Criticize their own society, cool. But like apply those same standards to China. Like they're what they're doing to the Uyghurs, disgusting. The slave labor that they allow there, disgusting. The way they treat their own citizens and monitor them, also disgusting. But
Well, if it's
I'm not a big believer in. Yeah,
everybody better stand up and say no, because it's coming here. You're already seeing the signs of it. Go to your school board meeting and ask them what they're teaching these kids. They want to teach them all to be racist, because we basically got on a personal one-to-one level, we got rid of racism in this country. Go to a playground in the city. You see all little kids playing together. They're not all split up by races, but the powers that be need a division in society. So if they aren't going to be racist by nature, they got to go teach them that, if you're born white, you're an oppressor. And if you're black, you're, underprivileged, and you're never going to be able to do anything without the government's help. And that's what they're teaching little kids.
Yeah, man. So really, no. I got to do a whole other episode on critical race theory and all that stuff. So Gary, thank you for the call. I do want to get back to the scope of the conversation. I want to talk about the Fauci stuff, but Gary, I don't want to dismiss your point overall too. It's important to think and look into whether or not this was done maliciously. Like, were they doing bad research trying to weaponize this? I don't know. I'm not a big believer in conspiracy theories, because most of the time I think people are too incompetent to pull them off. Because people are people, and you have boneheads who can't keep their mouths shut, and people who can't pull it off. I think for the most part, this is probably the Chinese government trying to save face, not doing this on purpose. But I'll get to another comment too. Blake says, I totally agree with Gary, Colin. Question the government about everything. Don't trust they say. Pandemic, and I don't think, again, I think it's mostly incompetence in trying to operate within the political system that exists. I wanted to get to a couple other things today, and maybe I'll have to do another one. I think the question that we need to ask is, did Dr. Fauci there's a statement from the Lancet that had, just so many conflicts of interest in there, including there's a guy named Peter Daszak, who also sent an email to Dr. Fauci thanking him for dismissing the lab leak theory. That dude had a conflict of interest. He was responsible for doing gain of function research and getting grants to do on Institute of Virology. That's the stuff that's worth looking at. The culture within the State Department and within the National Institutes of Health that made it politically dangerous, where you could lose your job possibly for looking into this theory. That's a problem. That's the type of that's the type of culture creep too. Like, that is the type of stuff that exists in the Soviet Union and China. That's the type of culture creep in the US that can actually destroy our institution. When it comes here, when we start thinking that is a normal, insane way to do stuff, it is not. We need to fight that. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. I will be back on Wednesday tomorrow. Larry Sharp. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon.